Okay, this next question comes to us from a portfolio manager. A portfolio manager is just a fancy way to say somebody who's in charge of managing a patent portfolio, typically at a larger enterprise. But really, what I'm going to talk about is applicable to every enterprise of any size. And the question is what would be the top 5 ways to strengthen or enhance your patent portfolio, right? To make that a whole group of patents that makes up your patent portfolio, how to tune it up in essence. So I think first and foremost, when I work with clients, what's missing quite often is process, right? Just simple business process. Everybody gets very busy, and if there isn't a process in place, what happens is everything's very reactionary, right? Someone comes to you with a new idea, and you maybe deal with it, maybe you don't, maybe you're too busy, maybe you're not. Or even worse, nobody raises the issue with the portfolio manager. So there may be a completely new product that comes out, and nobody bothers to think about whether or not there should be any patent protection. And the funny thing about patents is if you don't take active steps to protect your innovation, it's given to the public domain. So you may come up with this great product, it may be very revolutionary, and then, of course, your success in that area is going to breed competition, and all the fast followers. Fast followers are people that look at what's successful in the marketplace and they just quickly copy it. And it's much easier for them, without investing in engineering or all the unpredictability of the trial and error that goes on to find the best innovation. It's very easy for them to come up with something very quickly that is at least on par with what you're doing, and they may have some advantage like the ability to produce it cheaper because they don't have to hire engineers, or maybe much faster because they have a factory at their disposal. So it's quite often you'll see this in places like Kickstarter, where somebody will do a Kickstarter campaign, and even before the campaign ends, there is a knockoff product or knockoff products being offered by others to capture the buzz or the pull the Kickstarter campaign has created. So you want to have a very good process in place that captures things on a regular basis and has kind of, I think of it as like a pipeline of new innovation that's coming through, a bunch of ideas. So they call that process patent mining. So you have some way to mine out innovation as it happens on a regular basis. And if you're not getting enough idea flow into your process, what you might do is you might have an incentive program, or maybe make it part of the review process, something to keep it front of mind, because often the innovators are very busy people and they're worried about getting the product out there or other things, and they're not thinking about protecting the product. So have that workflow in place. Like the triangle tool provides an excellent workflow where it's broken up into 4 different stages, and everybody can collaborate in the process by entering their ideas, talking about the other people that are involved in either managing it or the other inventors, so that they all can capture as much information as possible around a particular idea, and then it can be pushed through the workflow according to whatever process makes sense within your enterprise. So get it captured, get effective at mining, and that's going to go a long ways towards strengthening your portfolio over time. Crucial, once you have a bunch of ideas coming in, very quickly any budget will get overrun. Almost every enterprise is producing far more innovation than makes sense to capture. So there has to be a process in place to vet what is the best innovation, what you should spend money on protecting, and what you might keep as a trade secret or give out to the public domain. So large enterprises will have a formal committee, a patent committee it's often called, but really just any sort of process where you're looking and evaluating the innovation with respect to whatever budget you might have to spend on innovation and seeing how it matches with your strategic plan at the enterprise so that you can efficiently spend money where it makes sense to spend money. And it's always a guess. Innovation happens very early in the process, typically before you have any customer validation or market validation. So it's largely speculation, thinking about what's going to be driving revenue years down the line, because patents have to be filed ideally in advance of any public disclosure or commercialization, but in the US, certainly within 1 year of any of those events happening. So you don't have the traditional customer market validation that you would love to have before you expend money on the protection. So it has to be done speculatively. So if there is a committee of folks that understand the strategic vision and the engineering value, and how that engineering value differentiates your product from what else is offered in the market, that will help you decide what's important to spend money on. And then, having quality patents, and that's such a subjective thing. I could talk for hours on the topic. But really making sure you have people drafting your patents that understand your technology and have the right background and, are reputable is crucial. Writing a great patent is the very beginning of the process, and will be what ultimately defines your patent right. And if you have the wrong people drafting these things, or people that perhaps don't have the level of experience, it just really, you can't recover from that. And it's hard to judge quality unless you're doing this a lot or if you have experience. And as it turns out, every patent prosecutor that comes to you will tell you that they do amazing work. They all do amazing work. But certainly there must be a bell curve. So finding those good people, which is very difficult. So, at the very least, if you're not experienced, is go with the name brand or go with the recommendation of somebody who does know what is good quality. And then part and parcel to that is, now there's the ability to fast track patents. So say you're trying to strengthen your portfolio in a hurry, perhaps, because it takes many years often from the time you start the process, you mine out these innovations, and to get issued patents, it's typically 3 to 5 years. But now you can pay for expediting that. And in the US, it's not that expensive, a few $1,000s. But if that's going to mean that you can build up the portfolio you want or have the protection quicker than normal, it's a small price to pay. And most other jurisdictions around the world, or many of them, have ways to go about expediting. So ask your patent prosecutor about those options and what they would cost and when those costs are going to hit. And then finally, I think part of strengthening your portfolio is getting rid of weak stuff in your portfolio. And it's always hard to prune out the less strategic things. But there are consulting firms and so forth that can look through it, or the same people that are doing your vetting on new ideas. If they can go through and look through the patents that have been issued or in process, or maybe the ones that are having a really hard time getting through the process, You'll often spend a lot of money on patents that are progressively getting narrower and narrower, and maybe even covering orphan technology, or certainly technology you're not going after anymore, maybe nobody in the industry is going after. So if you can free up budget from those things that are languishing or perhaps in an area that is no longer strategic, that budget can be repurposed toward innovation that is much more promising. And I think if you did those 5 things, you know, tracking with workflow, you know, coming up, making innovation a priority, having a very good vetting process, you know, focusing on quality and timing issues, and then getting rid of things that are no longer important. I think that's probably the best thing you can do to strengthen your patent portfolio. But talk to whoever you work with, and they may have other ideas, and there's probably a bespoke solution for your particular circumstance that might make more sense. But certainly that's a good place to get started, is looking at those 5 things. So thank you. If you have any further questions, put them in the comments below, and I will get to them in one of my next videos. Thank you.